But who better than me?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Hardcore Casual with your boy, Face the Kid. And as you can see, this one is a more of a special episode, live edition. Reason being, I felt there was a lot kind of just gone on this week, and I didn't want to make a video that was way too long. So I figured, you know what? Let me just come live today, interact with the chat, give my thoughts on a bunch of topics, just chop it up. Maybe even bring one or two people on if they want to link. I'll be happy to let people come on a little bit later on as well. But yeah, what I also want to ask you guys, the people that I hear from early, and I will give everyone their proper respect in a moment and shout out, should I start doing like a live stream a week? Because obviously I put out the other content and I'm sure people like that, but do people want some of that more interactive stuff as opposed to just the the videos? And maybe I can throw stuff about, sort of throw it out a bit quicker when I've got I guess when I can just fling on a live and get people involved, to sit down sort of couple minutes of the day. So yeah, kind of let me know in the chat what your thoughts are on that. Should I make this a weekly thing? And also, if so, what days are best in your schedule? Because this is about you guys, so trying to cater to the public, to the audience. What do you guys like? Now, with that being said, let's see who is up in the chat to start off with. So it looks like Danny from Fight Fan TV Live was the first person in the building. Big up to you. Thank you very much for being here. Jonah 31 as well. Salute to you. Thank you for being in attendance. Philip Answer, Mr. Ever Present. Gotta rate and respect you as well. My cohort from Undefeated from the Breakdown, Mr. Tony, the Pugilist boy, is also in the building as well. The Cali 1987, big ups to you. Okay, so more content the better. All right, Philip says he doesn't mind, I guess, as to what day. All right. Alexander the Great, can you turn the music? Can you guys hear music? I can't actually hear it. Hold on. Right, can you guys hear music? Is it loud now? Big up to you. Love the cartoon. Who made that? Right, there's this guy is on Twitter and on Instagram. His name is Lunatoon Boxing. Yeah, like that's who made the graphic for this video. If you go on his X page or his Instagram page, you will see, yeah, he's amazing. He's really quick with all of these, especially when something happens. He's got them from Ryan Garcia, he's got Canelo, Eddie Hearn, like PBC stuff. Take a look, like, yeah, have a look. And it's mad, you guys can hear sort of the intro music because I've put it on, but I can't hear it. Usually I can hear it, but I can't hear it on this. Maybe I need my headphones, but that's fine. As long as you guys are saying that the music now is all right, that's fine. Tony's saying it's better now. Good. Jam Down 187, big ups to you. Always in attendance, manners and respect every single time. And Alex saying, yes, we hear the music. The sound adjustment works for me. All right, brilliant. So yeah. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so with that being said, I guess, in fact, I got a couple minutes. I'm not in a huge rush to start proceeding. So in the chat, everyone, man like Bigsy Biggs, big up to you. Thank you very much for tuning in. All right, everyone in the chat. So put some topics in the chat that you want sort of covered tonight. Obviously, we're going to talk a lot about this Canelo and this PBC thing. That's gonna be like top priority. Let's be real. But but you know, you had the Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia press conference from yesterday. I know they got one tonight as well. I think that starts at 9 o'clock. I think so. I need to double check, and hopefully, obviously, I'll be able to react to that separately. Oh yes, I will be at the watch party next week. Yeah, I'm just trying to work out the particulars of what time I need to get there, if I've actually got a mandated time, or if I can just sort of come as and when I choose. Just sort of sorting out the particulars from my side. But yes, so obviously we've got PBC, we've got Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. I guess that maybe the amateur stuff as well. Obviously the press conference and the back and forths, and what's the truth with the sparrings, and who really gave who the standing eights and all that good stuff. There's a lot to sort of go off and to talk about. So yeah, Emma Willis, big up to you. Cameron changing trainers ahead of a potential trilogy. Yep, that's something I didn't get to sort of touch on that last week, so I definitely will speak about that as well. Philip Anderson said, let's start with the PBC protection program. No, we have to lead into that. That's a big topic. Like, I can't make that the opening segment of but we will get into that, and that will all sort of get, you know, bundled with the rest of it. As you can see from the poster, that is a prime topic, so don't worry, that is definitely coming. But okay, I guess, yeah, because it is a bit old news now, I might as well start with the Chantel Cameron situation, because I didn't really see that coming, to be totally honest. It just, to me, it came out of left field. So yeah, let's talk about it. So ultimately, as I was kind of saying last time when I was speaking on, whose platform was I was on a live last week talking about this. I can't remember who. Oh, it was when I was on the breakdown. That's it. And I was doing it on my ones. Yeah. So she's moved on to Grant Smith now. Now, to me, I look at it and I say to myself, I can understand if something ultimately wasn't working in the previous setup, but to me, it's like there was a lot of excuses she kind of made in the rematch. To be fair, even after the win of the first fight, she made some excuses there and some stuff that she said she didn't like. This one, it was like everything was almost going against her, and it feels like her moving on to trainer is like the last vestige of saying, no, I know something was the best I could get out of me. There's more that could be done. There's more that could be made. And I don't know, it feels like a bit of a cop-out, in my opinion. It's almost to the point where it's saying, I can't take the fact that I lost, so it has to have been someone else's fault, because I'm not supposed to lose this. But when we look at the fight and we look at the game plan that was ultimately employed and the tactics that was used, it was Chantel. Like, she is the one who decided to execute the plan the way it was, and then she's the one that also couldn't make the necessary adjustments once Katie Taylor came out from a totally different perspective than what they had in the first fight. So yeah, it's a strange one. But that being said, look, Grant Smith is a really good coach. The one thing I will say though is apart from maybe Dalton, who obviously he's got his kind of glaring faults, primarily is that he has no plan B or C. So when plan A is not working, he does seem to get a bit lost, and he never really knows how to switch things up to, you know, to sort of take it to an opponent, especially when there's someone that's not going to just stand right in front of him. Now, I feel that Sonny Edwards is a little bit of an outlier in that sense, because his boxing brain is just like sort of different, and he'll make whatever adjustments he needs to make. But you know, when you say, well, after the Bam Rodriguez situation, is that a case of making adjustments on the fly? Is it just a case of he started off with the wrong game plan, or is it just a case of the eye went, and because the eye went, ultimately it just caused issues for the rest of the fight? We're not quite sure. But look, with that, it's a case of I need to see what facets of her game that Grant can ultimately add. Whether he's going to get her back boxing more like she was when she was an amateur, whether he's going to maybe, try to sharpen up maybe her accuracy so that she can just plow forward and, go, I don't want to say gung-ho, but, basically go for the kill against Katie Taylor, or is she going to try and outmaneuver and outskill her and outslick her? I mean, all of these are, there could be potential pitfalls. So it will be interesting. But yeah, I'm keen to see kind of how that one maneuvers. Let's check the chat real quick, because then I'm gonna step into some other stuff really quick. All right. Now, the Cali 1987 Crawford, he needs to get active, maybe fight Munguia. That would be a great way to set up Canelo in September. I agree with you, he does need to get active. Munguia, probably, I don't know if that works in any time frame, because the earliest, if Munguia's not going to get a Canelo fight, he's not going to come out again in May for Terence Crawford. That's a June/July thing for him, and if that's the case, Terence definitely ain't getting back out in September. But even though he's not on the PBC anymore, but whenever Canelo goes to PBC, they always manage to get him off of his Mexican Independence Day date. When it was Caleb Plant, he wanted him in September. They ended up having to wait until November for that fight. When he moved over to to fight Jamel Charlo, they moved it to the end of September, like 2.5 weeks after Mexican Independence Day. So yeah, I think for this year he's going to want to make sure he's on that Mexican Independence Day weekend. So I don't know if the timeline properly catches up with that. Tony, Clarissa in cage fighting for PFL with small gloves proves to me that she can't fight Keith Thurman. She will get Brock up. I mean, look, yeah, she threw some hellacious shots from the waist, and her opponent ate them. I can't remember the girl's name. I think it was Emily or Emma. I could be totally wrong on that. I remember watching the fight, but you know what I want to say? I want to credit her. She's got some heart, and she stayed calm and composed in there, especially when she got put in that really horrible looking armbar. I'm surprised that she didn't end up tapping. But I mean, yeah, she can piece someone up, she just can't do any damage. That's the problem. And ultimately, damage is what's gonna make it in play, especially if you're talking about fighting a guy. So unless you're planning to hit a move for the entire fight, I can't really see that being a viable option. But yeah. Says Grant Smith is good as well, and their stable is full of talent. That's very true. Is a very good stable. She hasn't even watched the fight back yet. Oh, is that probably for Chantel Cameron? Well, look, she needs to, because she needs to make those necessary adjustments. So yeah, she definitely needs to watch that fight back if she hasn't already. Right, Tony responding to Cali 1987. Crawford needs to go through 154 and not miss the opportunity to pick up a belt there. Well, the problem is there's no belts that are available right now at 154. And the only one that is Tim Tszyu after March. And with that, then you need to see, well, when can that come around? Who's going to pull it on? Because the PBC and this Amazon Prime deal at the moment doesn't look too fruitful. We don't really know what's going on. Will they be willing to put the kind of money up that Terence Crawford's going to need for that fight? There's a lot of things that we don't understand, and we're going to get into all of that shortly, don't worry. But yeah, okay, so all right, so now we kind of got the little Chantel Cameron thing out of the way. I guess let's talk about the press conference from yesterday and sort of the stuff that's going on kind of between Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia. So for all of you, I guess, who watched the first leg, so this was the one that took place in New York. So they went on their tour. They went on the The Breakfast Club. I know there was on MMA Hour with Ariel Hawani. You know, Oscar De La Hoya was on there as well. Eddie Hearn was on there. It was a really big packed show. So Devin Haney has basically said that for him, this fight is personal because Ryan Garcia, he claims that he disrespected his religion. You know, obviously him being a Muslim, and I guess he's saying he disrespected Islam. Now, Ryan Garcia has basically come back and said, I didn't disrespect anything about you know, sort of Islam. The only thing I did is I messaged you like Merry Christmas. You know, I didn't know that, you know, that Muslims don't celebrate Christmas, so rare. But Devin's saying, well, no, it's not about that. Like, you said something to someone else and it's come back to me to what you said. So I don't know if that's like, obviously it's a lot of he said, she said, but so that's what has made Devin now say, yeah, so this, to him, this fight is personal, and he wants to put a beating on Ryan Garcia. Now, Garcia's been talking real spicy. He was talking spicy in the press conference. He was also talking spicy in on the MMA Hour and all of these other things. He's pretty much been, but he's had a very scattergun approach in basically everything he's been saying recently, talking about what's his name, Sean O'Malley, talking about wanting the Davis rematch, you know, with no rehydrations as like the last fight of his career, wanting to fight Teofimo. So basically saying he wants to fight everyone, but he's not necessarily focusing on this fight. And that's the thing we got to worry about now. Is Ryan just basically looking for big fights right now to cash out on, or does he legit think he wins all of this and he wants to smoke? Well, the press conference yesterday was interesting because, you know, him and Devin was going back and forth. Obviously came out with the I guess the dancers. He had the big, you know, the throne on the stage as well. But every time that they was asking him about, are you a quitter? Are you a quitter? That's the only time where Ryan couldn't get the upper hand in the exchanges. So it feels very much like that is something that is bothering him now. Like, he's like, that's the only retort he never had a response for. So I'm just thinking to myself, like, is that going to play in his head, and is that going to make him get is that going to sort of, you know, make him not so much jump out of character, but maybe be more over eager to impress, and ultimately in that same vein then start, you know, like now he's going to be like, he's going to make more mistakes in the ring. It's one of them ones. I think overall I enjoyed it. There's a jam down says spicy or sassy. I mean, to be honest, it's a bit of both. And this whole thing with Ryan, this new voice all of a sudden, and he's like, oh yeah, well, look, they got me screaming in these promos left, right. But he's been sounding like that for a little while now. Obviously, Devin's been alluding that he takes cocaine. Whether that's true or not, I have no idea. But Ryan did admit that he did say that he's been smoking weed with Nate Diaz. I don't know how much, and obviously I don't know how that's going to work with potential VADA testing. But yeah, it's there's some things in that whole setup that just seeming a little bit strange to me. So me personally, I feel like he's trying to cash out at the moment. He's trying to look for the biggest possible fights he can. If he loses this one, he's going to have like maybe a knockover job in the next one, or have one or two like small gimmies and then come back to another fight just to make big money on. I don't know. Maybe I could be seeing it all wrong personally, but yeah, even looking at their sort of the amateur thing, the 3 fights. But it's funny because on the MMA Hour, Devin Haney was quite capable of saying, yeah, we're 3-3, but I gave him the 8 count in the last one. But when they asked him about the first fight, he's like, well, I don't really remember that one when they was 10 years old. But if you know that they're 3-3, you should really remember how those fights went, or at least the order of who won what fight. If he's like, yeah, I don't really remember which one is which, but you clearly remember the ones that you won. So you could tell me if that's okay, fight 1, fight 3, fight 4, or if it was like 2 and 5 and 6, you know what I mean? So I think they both of them are sort of like it's almost like they both got some skeletons they ain't trying to let out of the closet in that sense. And you also got the the sparring footage with Tank Davis. Now, funny enough, I think I've seen this footage. I can't remember, but I'm almost certain I've seen the footage between Devin and Tank from when Devin, I think he was 17 or 18, and I think Tank was like 22, something like that. And yeah, I remember seeing, I'm sure it was Devin, where he got caught with a shot and he got frozen in place like for like a second and then yeah, I think what's his name, Adrian Broner did sort of step in. He sort of jumped into the ring to sort of finish the end of that spar. But from what I remember, prior to that initial shot, it was a very good technical competitive spot. I'm trying to remember fully like where I saw it, because I remember seeing it. But yeah, he's obviously not too. I guess he doesn't let it affect him too much when people speak about that sparring session, because there's been other sessions I know that he had with Tank Davis as well, where he's said he's got the better of those ones. But everyone's always acknowledged that yeah, when this one happened, he was a proper young teenager still, you know, and Tank was in his 20s. So I guess that's something that couldn't really be used against him. And even if it was something he feels a way about, he doesn't really show it. So, you know, I'm not quite sure how we kind of look at that one. But yeah, okay, Mr. All-In, big ups to you. Ryan can knock down Devin, I feel, but I don't think he wins other than KO. Well, I mean, anyone can be knocked down, but Devin's the only one thus far that hasn't been. So until I see it happen, I'm not really going to, you know, everyone said, oh, he ain't really got the chin. He's not the one with the chin, but he did used to wear shots a bit poorly, but again, he's never been down. He knows how to survive. He knows how to get through a round. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I can really allude to on that one. But yeah, let's check some more of the chat. Yeah, Tony says amnesia. Yeah, there's definitely selective memory on both sides. That's 100% guaranteed. Like they're both picking and choosing what facts to tell about their past history. But yeah, let's see what else was there that I want to talk. Oh yeah, just before we kind of start talking properly about the Canelo and the PBC stuff and that whole situation and how that worked out. Yes. Oh, I was just about to get to this. Thoughts on the fight promo for AJ versus Ngannou. I thought it was great. It's not my favorite one from what the Saudis have done so far, but they keep raising the bar. And my question is, how long did it take to film the shots? Because obviously they didn't go to every single location, so some of it would have been CGI. Maybe they got a sound stage or whatever, but did they, you know, what were we talking about? Like a day, 2 days to film, like a week, like 3 days out? Because there was a lot of effort that was put into that. Special effects, like graphics, you know, CGI. It was just entertaining. And the good thing about their trailers is like they're not just generic. It's not like, oh, like who will be the champion. Like they've put thought into everything. Day of Reckoning obviously had the, you know, the zombies and all of that stuff. And a lot of that people thought, oh yeah, it's like CGI. And no, it was like they was actually there in makeup, like, you know, doing their scenes. The one for, I mean, even Fury and Ngannou, that was a pretty decent one as well. But my favorite one has to be Fury versus Usyk. The gunslingers, the Ring of Fire. That just felt like very epic and monumental. It felt like it meant something. Like Knockout Chaos just seems like a bit of fun more than anything else. But that one felt like, yeah, this is like Last Chance Saloon Like, you know, one gunslinger is either gonna, you know, fall, or he's gonna be permanently banished from the you know, from the town. And it just had that grandiose feel to it. So yeah, I was really impressed with that one. It's a shame we didn't get it when we were supposed to get it. And the fact that it's moved to the 18th of May now means that my yearly trip to Nottingham has kind of been disrupted, because I was planning to go to Wood Warrington 2 at the City Ground, and that fight is obviously now not going to happen, or not going to happen in the same fashion, in the same vein. So yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do next for that, to be totally honest. But yeah, really good promo. Hold on, Philip Answer says I forgot to read what he wrote. Okay, one moment, Philip. Let me see. I think it's this. I was watching a video on Ring IQ Boxing Talks channel where he showed a clip of Calvin Ford saying Tank is not fighting Frank Martin next. Yes, I did see that clip. I can't remember. He said there was a reason, something to do with paperwork, I think, or financials, but I don't know at this point. To be honest, I'll be totally frank with you, I don't care. I've got no interest in what Tank does until I do. Basically, that's pretty much it. So, you know, Mr. Tweet and Delete, him and his team, like, until they can get on the same page, like, there's no real reason for me to care about what it is they're talking about. But yeah, if it doesn't happen, ultimately, look, at the end of the day, you got to say to yourself, who's he fighting next? Because, you know, he made all that money with Ryan. I'm not going to lie to you, I think he almost doesn't want to fight again. Not because he's lost the hunger, because don't get me wrong, but he made a lot of money. But I think he knows that if he goes into another fight and can't do another quote unquote 1.3 million or 700,000 or 800,000, then it almost shows him up to be like a charade, a facade. Because remember, every pay-per-view we had prior to that was all under 300k. The highest of which I think was 275, and even then I think that people said that those numbers were inflated and it was closer to about 230. So if that's your benchmark, and all of a sudden now you do 1.2, 1.3, or whatever that number is, and now you go back down to doing 200 to 300,000, then you can't even say that you're the king of that division, or you're the cash cow, especially now that Ryan and Devin are about to do a pay-per-view. I can see that one at least doing 450, and if that's the case, if he ends up doubling Tank's best numbers without him on the platform, that shows, you know, that will be like there's a bit of a fragility to the ego, and I don't know if he's really wanting that kind of attention. So yeah, that's kind of how I see it. I mean, you guys in the chat, let me know sort of what your thoughts are with regards to that. But yeah, look, we're about coming up to about half an hour in, so let me just check to see any last minute comments. Shout out to North Bank Brem, big up to you. Jam Down 187, Andy Cruz, Keyshawn Davis. Yeah, look, that fight I don't think will happen anytime soon, if it happens at all. They've got a lot riding on Keyshawn. As much as he says that he wants that smoke as a pro, they're still, you know, I don't think you want to get embarrassed again. You know, he's 4-0 as an amateur. You don't want him to now beat you as a pro as well. Well, at least the team won't. Like the top ranked team, they'll probably keep him away from that, to be totally honest. So yeah, I can't really see that one happening too tough. But yeah, look, let's talk about, I guess, the reason why we're here. So look, there's two ways to look at this. Canelo, number one, he either played a blinder in being able to get out of that PBC contract because he no longer wanted to stay there. You know, He went there, they had a deal. They was on Showtime, everything was hunky-dory, roses, did decent numbers on the pay-per-view. I think it was like 650 or something along those lines, 650, 700. And then, but the appetite is now not there. But I think he had signed an agreement and a deal to say that he wanted, that he was going to fight both the Charlos, and then on his third fight would be like one that was mutually agreed by both sides. That's the way that I've kind of heard it to be. I don't know exactly the ins and outs of how overly true all of that is, but so you look at it from that perspective, and you say to yourself, okay, then PBC obviously tried to amend the deal, saying, no, we can't give you 35 for Jamal, it's not going to sell. And Canelo's like, well, that's not my problem. Like, that's who's on the contract, that's what we've agreed to, so run me my money. And if you can't run me my money, then you're going to be in breach of contract and I'm going to leave. Similar to what happened when he was with DAZN and Golden Boy Promotions. If you guys remember, he sued DAZN basically because DAZN were not giving him, I think it was 40 million. I think he was like 40 million a fight. It was his guarantee. I remember what was the deal? It was like 600, was it like 650 million for 10 fights, a 10 fight deal, something like that. And because of COVID and everything like that, they didn't want to pay that money because they obviously couldn't recoup, they couldn't get a crowd attendance and whatnot. But what had also happened is that DAZN were prepared to pay the money if it was for a Triple G fight, because Oscar and Golden Boy had done a separate deal with DAZN that Canelo didn't know about, which basically guaranteed DAZN certain fights. But the deal that Canelo signed with DAZN initially was for basically he would have input and he would be able to choose the 10 opponents that he would fight on the platform. So because there was a double contract, he basically sued DAZN for the money, couldn't get the money, but was able to obviously get out of that contract, and then was also able to sue Golden Boy for not fulfilling their fiduciary duties to him, and by sort of basically double dipping and doing deals without his involvement and without his signature. So very similar to that. Now you've obviously got this PBC situation. They've tried to change the deal, say, okay, well, no, we'll give you 35, but you got to fight this person instead. He's like, well, that's not who's on the contract. Like, this is what's on my contract. This is what I want. Can you deliver it? You're telling me no, you can't. Okay, I'm gone. And then you get Eddie Hearn in obviously interviews. He's basically said, yeah, no, he never wanted to face Jamal Charlo. There's other people who've also said that as well. Like, he had no interest in that. But just knowing that he's going to be able to use this as a way to get out of a contract, with no real guarantee in it, that's the move he made. And shout out to Ring IQ, as Philip Ansel alluded to earlier. He pretty much said, well, in his mind and the theories that he's looked at, well, why would I fight a DAZN fighter on your platform when I can just go and fight them on that platform and probably make more money, or have a much easier transition, because I'm used to everything over there. I know how everything over there works. Like, why am I going to let you bring someone over here and you don't even have a full, a proper deal in place to satisfy my needs and my, and my wants? So yeah, like all of that, this kind of just tells you, it just looks to the case that I would say he kind of played them to a degree, but only because they obviously couldn't fulfill their own duties and what they necessarily were supposed to be doing as a promotional outlet. But anyone who's sort of known me for a number of years now, at least 6 years, probably a lot more than that, but there's a timeline you can trace back a good 6 years, 2018, sort of them times, 2017, 2018, where I told people, like, PBC, number one, it ain't good for boxing, but number two, like, they're not sustainable. It's not a sustainable outfit. It's not a outfit that breeds winners, breeds champions. It's an outfit that ultimately breeds degenerates. And I'm not gonna lie, I think I said it on Monday Night Smoke to a degree. Like, Canelo's almost on his world tour at this point. He's on his world tour part of his career, and he went to PBC basically to have a couple of easy touches before he had to have another hard fight. Just the easy touches for big money, because Manny Pacquiao did the exact same thing when he was at the end of his career, and like basically lost the Floyd fight, everything, basically was out of the top rank deal, didn't really know what to do. He ended up going over to the PBC and then became a world champion again. And he extended his career by another like 3 or 4, by like another 2.5 years, because the PBC is literally like it's basically the sort of the last hurrah for the elites, or it's basically just the land of the mediocre. And the quicker and the sooner like their most talented prospects and their most talented people realize or get out of those deals, if they can, because I've heard a lot about how hard their actual deals are to get out of, their 360 deals, like the music contracts. There's a bunch of guys that need to get out of those deals, especially if they want to make something of their career, because you can already see the inactivity alone is just not, it's not healthy for a fighter of a talent like a David Morrell Jr. What's he now? Is he 10-0 at the minute? He turned pro. I believe he turned pro in 2018. I think he turned pro in 2018. And it's like he's only managed to sort of have 10 fights in almost 6 years. Even David Benavidez, because he was active in the first half of his career when I guess that Waddle and Reed money was around, but since then, even he's not been as active. Caleb Plant has had 2 fights since the Canelo fight, and obviously I guess maybe part of that is because the Canelo payday hits different, and so you can afford to take some time off. But you had Jamel Charlo saying he was injured for over a year, and then the Canelo bag came all of a sudden. Oh yeah, I'm good to go. Forget Tim Tszyu. Like, the hand's fine. Let's go. You had Jamal Charlo come back at the same time when there was a potential sniff that a Canelo fight could be there, and he's fighting on undercards but taking 3 years out and holding onto a belt as well. There's just like Errol Spence. I mean, we forget even. Actually, no. Maybe I won't use Errol Spence purely because the car accident obviously contributed to a lot of his inactivity, because he was fairly active prior to the car accident. So I'll give him that. But yeah, even him just on the shelf. People like your Dennis Ugas. The only one that was really trying to keep active to a degree was Sean Porter, but even he ended up going to like 1 fight a year in the last sort of 2.5 years. There's just not enough. There's not enough to go around. And then even if you look at Tank, like last year, you say, oh, like he had the fight in January, then went and had the fight in April with Ryan, and you say to yourself, oh, okay, active. But then obviously we knew that he was going to prison for a period of time. So did he just have the 2 fights to make some money before he had to serve out his sentence? But he came out of prison in the summer and didn't fight in the fall or the winter. And you say to yourself, well, what's going on? And now we're 2 months into this year, no idea when he's supposed to be fighting, but they said if he does fight, his fight's going to take place likely around July. Well, so he's gone from April to July. That's 15 months. Like, why are you out of the ring so long? And none of the other outfits, unless they really don't rate you as a person, or like you're injured, you don't be out of the ring for that length of time. You can't tell me one like matchroom fighter that wasn't injured that's been out of the ring for 15-18 months just doing up life. Even man like Felix Cash, like, it hasn't quite been that long. Obviously there was some health issues and some other issues with him. Craig Richards obviously had a damaged hand, ill. I remember he came back and fought after having COVID as well. Like, so these men get active. Even on Queensbury, like, there's no one that's just out there just taking vacays for a year and a half, 2 years before coming back into the ring. Maybe Callum Johnson is the only one you could say, but he technically retired and then said, no, I want to come back. So you come back a cruiserweight. But it's just a regular occurrence at PBC. You're lucky if you have one fight a year. Remember, what's his name? Gary Russell Jr. He was notorious for having one fight a year, satisfying a mandatory to keep a belt, and then just going off swanning about for the rest of the time. This is standard PBC practice. And because of that, there's no sustainability in their game. And that's ultimately the reason why they're in the problems that they're in right now. And to be honest, I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel for them. I don't. I think this Amazon distribution deal, because they're finding it difficult to get the money together for these shows. Hence why they're trying to put everything on pay-per-view and seeing what they can recoup. I don't know how much longer for the world they are. I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of this year they're either done for, or they end up like Don King Promotions, putting on a random card on a channel that they opened up themselves off, and doing up that and losing basically half their staff. Because who is it? Elvis Rodriguez has gone over to Matchroom. I'm pretty sure that David Morrell Jr. wasn't just at the at the fight over the weekend in Orlando just to say hello to his friend Andy Cruz. Like, I'm pretty sure some talks would have been had there as well. There's a bunch of guys that are talented enough that they can escape that bubble and do well. Bless me. So yeah, I just want to know. Yeah, to me, it just seems like the ship's been sinking. We know that, but it seems like it's now been a bit, expedited to what everyone was expecting to take place. Now, I'm hoping that these people can ultimately get good deals elsewhere. Some can go and I guess maybe be feeders to Top Rank, future up and coming stars. Some can go Matchroom, some can go Golden Boy Promotions. Maybe some can do the Road Warrior thing, just become free agents and travel about trying to get some work from like maybe the British outlets, or like maybe they might even join people like Salita Promotions right now. I mean, he may not be paying the best, but even Dimitri Salita's got a DAZN deal. Like, it's crazy when someone like Dimitri Salita has got more television dates than the PBC. Like, let that sink in. Fight Zone from this weekend. Like, they've now got distribution and dates on DAZN. OTX has got distribution and dates on DAZN. And they've, all of these people are just here, and you wanted to go off and do your own thing. What? Just because you didn't want to have direction by someone else? Well, look, it's backfired now, because now you have no direction and you have no funds for your events. I mean, it's crazy. Apparently, they're still looking for a terrestrial network to partner with for their non-pay-per-view stuff. Again, how appealing is that going to be? Because if you're any one of your people that you claim is quote-unquote a credible name is going to want to be paid a certain way. They're not going to go to a terrestrial channel when they hear pay-per-view and think, oh, well, I can get some of that back-end money. That's what's going to be in their brain. So then what roster are you showing to this terrestrial network for them to be to get excited and get involved with with the platform? The whole thing just seems like the ship is well and truly sinking. And like I said, I don't know how much longer it's going to last. We'll get back to the Canelo stuff in a moment, but let me get back into the chat, see what everyone's been saying here. I love Tank, but he's all cap. Yep, that's right, Tony. Jam Down 187. Well, according to Andy, he's already beaten the pro version of Keyshawn. But all I know is that he calls him his son every day. I mean, my son, that's my son. I think those videos is funny. Yeah, I'm not gonna read that, Tony, because all right. So O says, I don't buy the narrative of Canelo ducking. The deal was 350 for 10 fights. Okay, yep, there you go, thank you. So yeah, so I guess that's 35 mil per no, wasn't it 360? I think it was 360 million. But yeah, back to your, I agree. I think part of it is strategic, and as far as I'm aware, and Canelo said it, and Eddie Reynoso said it, like, I've never been made an offer to fight David Benavidez. So there's all this talk about Benavidez and whatever, and don't get me wrong, I want that fight. Just like everyone else, I want to see that fight. But remember, Canelo is the free agent. He doesn't have the network deal. He goes to the network that has the money for him. And then they offer him fights, and then he will sign a contract to make an agreement based on those fights. So if someone like Eddie Reynoso is telling you we've never received an offer for that guy, it makes sense that you would believe him for the pure fact of someone's like, oh, well, why don't you make the offer the other way? Well, how can he make an offer? He doesn't have a network of his own. He doesn't have a network that backs him. He's a freelancer. For lack of a better word, he's a mercenary. He goes where the money's at, does his job, and then if the money's good, he rees up for another job. If not, he goes about his business and looks for the next payday. That's what he does. So yeah, people can say, oh, well, he's not calling for the Benavidez fight, but to be honest, why would he? There's absolutely no reason to call for that fight when you know that if this guy keeps winning, or he is your quote-unquote mandatory, which is actually not even the mandatory yet. He won't be installed as the mandatory until next month. But if he's the mandatory, I'm gonna have to fight him anyway. So why am I gonna scream and shout for him? Like, let him do what he needs to do. So yeah, I also don't agree that it's ducking. But although that being said, if he had gone through September and didn't fight him, then I would look at it a bit different, because I always was informed and heard that the plan was going to be he would be the last fight on the deal. So I have to keep the energy and consistency. Philip said, it's more like the protection program for the PBC. Well, yeah, it is protection. But that being said, they do have some genuine talents who could thrive elsewhere, but they're in just the same, they're just in the same predicament. And ultimately, with a lot of channels, just like, I guess, PBC and every promotion would rather you, that if one of their guys loses, they lose at least on their platform to another one of their guys, and then you build up that star, or you build up a rivalry between the two. You don't really want, quote unquote, your best guys to go off platform and then get whooped and it looks bad, and then they have to come back to you, and now you've got to rebuild them, just like what obviously Ben Shalom thought he was going to have to do with Joseph Parker after he got battered by Joe Joyce on BT Sport before it became TNT. So yeah, I mean, it's unfortunately, I understand some of it, but when you look at the record between the PBC and like Top Rank, and it's something like 19-1 or 22-1 in terms of who's won the matches, like you ultimately you look at that and you say to yourself, yeah, maybe you see why you don't want to play with others. But yeah, I mean, boy, let's see, Jam Down. I'm almost certain the premier PBC fighters have a matching rights contract where Al receives a higher percentage if the fighter fights off platform. Tank and Wilder used Eddie to leverage better fight fees. Maybe. That could be a situation. Well, I mean, you say that, but I don't know, because if you remember when Deontay Wilder had the free fight deal offered to him from DAZN, for the 120 mil, he didn't get 20 million to fight Dominic Brazil on Showtime. I don't remember what he got, but they said, look, he was well compensated, but he didn't get 20 mil. And Steven Espinoza said that directly. So I don't really see how you would be, how ultimately you then think that that's the better offer. And if that is the case, look at Rolly Romero. Remember, he was supposed to be the challenger in the main event with Ryan Garcia. Now he's fighting as chief support, but probably like a third or a quarter of the money that he could have got to fight in Ryan. So I don't know if those fees actually ever work out to be quote unquote better. But I mean, so it's an interesting theory. There's definitely some form of first right of refusal or something in those contracts, because otherwise a lot of these people would be taking these fights a lot sooner than they do, unless they're truly trapped in the corner. Toby Bartlett, salute to you as well. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for joining the chat. Even with the football one, I've still got people in there. It means a lot. I appreciate everyone who is in and enjoying and watching. Jam down. Even if the PBC is done as a promotional company by the end of the year, I'm certain the contracts they hold on fighters means I will be eating off them for the rest of their respective careers. Probably, but maybe he will, because remember, technically he can't be a promoter or a manager or such. He has to be an advisor. So he'll get a fee. He'll still get fees off of them, but he just won't be able to tell them not to take deals anymore or be able to keep them off of other networks. So I guess that's the plus for it. And there has been people that managed to get out of those contracts. Danny Jacobs got out of a Al Heyman contract. Mikey Garcia got out of a PBC contract, and a couple others as well. So I mean, it has been done. Hopefully it continues and we can get some more. Check some of the aren't PBC fighters just not good enough for top rank? But that's the thing. I would say they're probably not, but the ones that are, if they're not good, then you feed them to your up and comers. As I said, you feed them to the guys that you're bringing up, because most of their fighters will at least have the experience. So at that point, you'll say, okay, well look, we'll give you this test. You come through this one, we'll give you another step up. So you can just use them as gatekeepers for your up and coming talent. And then the ones who are towards the top of the level, you just you give them to your bigger names for showcase fights. Which lead on to more and bigger and better things. That's how I'd do it. Emma Willis, Al is the architect of his own demise. Yeah, I mean, can't really disagree with that. Big up Ringside Reporter. What's happening, JC? Big ups to you. Thank you very much for tuning in. Let's see. Jam down. He didn't, but his guarantee went up from 2.5 million to somewhere around 10 for the Brazil fight. P.S. I said they're premier fighters. Rolling Namek. You know what? He may not, but unfortunately, because he's got a belt, he's a valuable commodity at this point in time. That's the reason why Rolly gets in that conversation. Everyone wants a piece of Rolly, because he is an easy target and he's an easy night's work for anyone with any modicum of ability. Remember, we saw what was happening to him when he faced Mumra. So if that's, and obviously I know that Mumra comes out and shows better than advertised, but if that's how you're looking against someone that was 40 years old, who was supposed to be there for your knockover instead of Alberto Puello, he's not long for the top of any divisions. So that's why he gets put in that conversation. Okay, but yeah, that's pretty much all I've really got to talk about, if I'm gonna be real. In terms of Canelo stuff, like I said, so just to recap that, I think he ultimately just, he played them in the sense of by sticking to that contract. I don't ever think he was really looking to fight Jamal Charlo. But I remember when I was talking to Travis on Monday Night Smoke, I said I bet he was supposed to face the Charlos in the agreement, and because that was supposed to be who he was fighting in the first one, because they was always talking shit about him in their interviews and whatnot. He's like, okay, no, well, you know, bring your ass over here, let's do this. But at that point, obviously, he wasn't ready. So, okay, I got to take baby Charlo, cool, but I want to come back for you. And that's why I was thinking to him, even if he didn't want to necessarily fight him afterwards, because he would have been the initial person on the contract, because Canelo's like, well, these guys are always talking shit about me, fine, let's fight now, kind of thing. Because he kept sticking it on little Charlo, Jamel Charlo, in the press conferences, saying, you know, he talk a lot of shit online and stuff, he doesn't really say much to me now and all of that. So that to me clearly said that, yeah, that was a reason why he was why they was on the contract. But then when he's looking at it after, he's like, well, I'm not going to change up my contract or change my money to fight someone else, or to fight him for less than what we had agreed. That's not going to work, and I'm not changing it either, because this is who I signed for. If you can't do it and you ain't got no platform for me, cool, I'm gonna go about my business and make money elsewhere. And that's legit what I think sort of happened with that. But yeah, ultimately, look, it's been fun. It's always nice to trash the PBC when it's justified. Don't get me wrong, I don't take glee in it, except for when I see them doing, a madness. I wanted to say a different word there, but I'm thinking about the algorithms. Yeah, whenever I see them doing a madness, and then things like this happen, it does kind of make you feel a bit warm and fuzzy inside, because you're like, I knew this foolishness was gonna take place, and you guys should have known better. So now ultimately this is what happens. It's like, look, I told you so. So for me, it's just all about now hopefully getting some of their other guys out of those contracts, and getting them onto the right side of things. And if that all takes place, then yeah, I'll be looking forward to sort of what happens next and what goes on. But yeah, look, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave it there. It's been an hour. I was going to let some people jump on, but I think I'm going to make these a weekly thing. I'm going to put a post in the community tab. Just let me know if you guys are interested, and then if so, again, what days. But yeah, I'm going to do this weekly, and I will have sections if anyone wants to jump on moving forward. But I want to go eat some food right now and maybe just watch the rest of the football. But peace and prosperity to everyone. Hope everyone's had a great week, had some great news, all that good stuff. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll catch everyone on the next one. But until then, it's the Hardcore Casual out.
Maybe I'ma make it, maybe I'm not. In time we'll see. But who better than me? I don't care if you agree. I ain't saying that I'm better than anyone. But who better than me?